Council makes a second. Thank you.
Just to let you know, live streaming is not working.
Okay. All right.
Something must be wrong.
Any discussion? If not, can you do a roll call, please?
You don't need
Oh, we didn't do a roll call. We're all here. That's right. Thank you. I'm so used to you being out of town. All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. This is new. We're glad to have you back. All right. Now moving on to tonight's consent agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt tonight's consent agenda? I'll make that motion. Councilor Bauer makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilor Goodrick makes a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to meeting open to the public. Do we have anyone, Jenny?
We do not.
Okay.
We'd like to know the comment.
All right. First of all, before you comment, I want you to understand 3 ground rules for all my meetings, all council meetings. Common respect, common courtesy, leave your anger at that front door. You want to discuss your issue with us on a common respect, common courtesy attitude, I have no problem listening to anything you say. Otherwise, again, go out that door, okay? Do I make myself perfectly clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Want to talk, get up in front, take your name and address, go to the record.
I'm Zach Statham, 6938 Ambassador Boulevard Northwest, St. Francis. I wanted to speak and talk a little bit about a development that you'll either will be on the agenda tonight, or if not, I believe it will be on the next one.
No, won't be on the agenda until February of 22.
Okay, well, that's, I guess, the planning commission told me that it would be on the next one.
The email I just got, and my community development director can allude to that, was just that it's been delayed by the developing person. Needs more time.
That'd be the Green Valley development. Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to just briefly comment on, that I am 100% opposed to it. It's right next to me, and they've been trespassing on my property, cutting down fences, ripping out fence posts that I put in, and numerous other problems on there. Gave us permission to drive across on the strip, and then called the DNR and told us we didn't have permission. I'm 100% opposed to it, and whenever it comes back on the agenda, I will be here to be 100% opposed to it again. I think it should have been voted down and removed by the planning commission, especially because there's a pendants. It's under litigation right now. I don't think that you should even give it any consideration whatsoever, because they're trying to develop property that doesn't belong to them. And it's caused nothing but trouble with everyone that lives there. All my neighbors are all opposed to it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
Gene Rexicon, 6533 160th Street West, Apple Valley, Minnesota. To add to what Zach Statham just stated, the Liz Pendants that is now active has been running in the legal newspaper of Anoka. And also, my understanding is that freezes any going forward. What is the exact name of that development? Is it Green Valley Preserve or Green Valley Development? May I know, please?
At this time, I can only say to you, it's been shelved back to February of 2022. Any comments you have will be made at those meetings coming up as you're notified of those meetings. Right now, today is so far ahead right now. What you say today will have to be restated as you come up. So I can understand you want to say something, but at the same time, it won't be on the agenda till February of 2022.
Okay, well, what might be interest of you though is that the state of Minnesota has revoked Green Valley Preserve. Is it the revoked, or is it Green Valley Development? Yes, the state of Minnesota has revoked the license of Green Valley Development. So that also kills it, because the state of Minnesota said no. Their license has been revoked. And lastly, wanting to state that the lis pendens is on this, a determination, an action to determine boundary lines, Minnesota statute 559.23.24.25. And 0.25 tells you how a boundary line has to be developed. A boundary line is developed not by GPS, but a boundary line is developed by what's on the ground. It's called ground truth. And it's both fence lines that both property owners of a property line on both sides have honored for over 60 to 100 years. And that's what we go by. And that's what this action is about, is to bring out the ground truth. I mean, even on the website of GPS, Anoka County, it says this bearings are not to be used to determine property lines. It says that. Why? Because government is required by the United States Supreme Court to do retracement surveys. Because abstract land does not, it's not Torrance land. It doesn't have stakes in the ground. But what Green Valley Preserve is doing, they're putting stakes in the ground just because they want to put it on in the ground, irregardless of where the boundary line is on the ground. They don't care. And that's called doing a subdivision. They're subdividing my land. You can't do that. Supreme Court says not even government can do that. So Green Valley Preserve can't do it either, because if government can't do it, how can Green Valley Preserve be doing it? And I can see why their license has been revoked by the state of Minnesota. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments?
No.
Okay, so then just so there's no confusion later on, I think that application could be heard between now and February if they're able to get their stuff completed faster and faster.
Well, as of today, the emails the council has had is February 2022. Should that be boosted up, then the public will be notified to have the meetings in Rome, okay? All right, you'll be notified. Move on right now. Moving on to new business, MESB Storage.
Mayor and council, before you is a proposed agreement to provide storage services for the Metropolitan EMS Board. They have a mobile emergency room that they can treat 12 patients with. They reached out to us back in June and July of this past year, past summer. Previously, this bus had been stored at the fairgrounds. They got kicked out of their agreement at the fairgrounds. Working with Public Works and Director Winningstead, we found some space over at Public Works where we could facilitate the storage. We intended to get the contract done earlier, but with some of the budget battles that were going on at the state this summer, that delayed the process. And then obviously with the wildland fires this summer, most of the state assets and resources were deployed over the year. Finally, we connected, hammered out an agreement that's been reviewed by our legal team and the state's legal team. They're willing to pay us $1,000 a month for storage. Part of this, we will also work with them to have our staff trained to be able to deploy it throughout the state, which will provide potentially additional reimbursements back to the city. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Dave. So we've already been doing this.
Yep, we started on kind of a trial basis to see if any impact would be affected by Public Works by where it's being stored. Talking with Public Works, it seems like it's an adequate arrangement where it's at currently. We also worked out some logistical issues regarding access, if they needed to access it at 1 AM, how we deploy it. We've worked through those issues ongoing, and that's now why we're at where we're at today.
All right, and where is it at Public Works?
We have it in the cold storage, not cold storage, but in the garage down at the wastewater.
In that long storage?
Yeah, where the old fire truck was, that was gone. We put it in its place and move some stuff around so we wouldn't have to be moving it and it wouldn't be in there anyway.
Well, I like $1,000 per month. What would you use that money for?
Right now, it's not allocated. Certainly, we would want some of the costs to offset any needs that Public Works would have as far as keeping the storage over there. Certainly, if we wanted to send staff out to get trained on this particular piece of equipment, which will happen over a period of time, we would use that money to offset that, but certainly we wouldn't need the entire $12,000, so it would become revenue.
For the fire station?
For the fire department or general fund or wherever it would be.
Darcy, where do you think it would go?
I would say go in general fund.
So there's always a need for fire department. Budgets aren't that high. One other question I have is, what type of vehicle is this exactly?
It's a retired MTC bus. It's completely outfitted to now have 12 essentially emergency room beds. It's part of a state resource that would get deployed in any mass casualty incident. There would be a team of doctors that would meet on site. They would send somebody up to get the vehicle. We would likely send 1 or 2 people with it when we get that training, just to facilitate any logistical needs on scene. And the physician.
So it's an MTC bus that's been out.
It's been retrofitted into essentially a mobile emergency room unit.
And I know the storage place is big, but still not all the space is taken up by.
No, we have it on the south end. We have it so they can pull it in and out and we can still get access to all our stuff. We looked at it 7 ways to Sunday to make sure that it would work.
All right, so Kevin, you got any questions on this at all?
Is it, aside from the space it's taking up, does it need any battery tenders or any other auxiliary
Yeah,
feed of power otherwise to keep it ready and rejuvenated to take off?
so it's just got a 110 volt battery tender on it, so it will go all the time. They come and do all the maintenance on it and checks monthly. They take it out and drive it. We obviously, one of our staff lets them in, or they let the fire department know. It's a win-win, because now we have access to a bus that God forbid, we don't ever have to, but it can take mass casualties and be totally equipped. And we get paid to start
The monthly income more than covers, I'm sure, what electricity will be used, so.
it.
That's
And
all I have.
we're tracking that, so.
Thank you.
Joe, your comment?
I was just curious, I guess, where the money was gonna be allocated, if it was my one question. And the other question, I guess, is there a security concern of any sort, as far as them getting access to it?
There's a select few of people that have access to it. And some of those people are my staff and some are officers within the fire department.
That was still my question. I don't have any concerns.
All right, well, I'd say let's go grab a motion for storage to approve MESB. Is this for just this year or just?
This will renew on an annual basis at both parties agree.
Okay, so do I have a motion to renew the MESB storage of their vehicle at the Public Works location, wastewater location? Do I have a motion?
I would just say approve the agreement as presented.
Dave, I like what you said. Why don't you just do that for me all the time? I mean, I try to make it as simple as possible. If you just come up with that. All right, just as he said, do I have a motion?
I'll make
Councilmember, you want to make some motion?
or second, I'll second.
All right. Councilmember makes a second. I love it when you do a simple thing. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we're on to scheduling a work session. Joe, I think you want to take that.
Honorable Mayor and Council, you did read the staff report correctly. We're looking to settle a project from 2016 with the Milbury County for between $200,000 and $400,000 apart on billing. So we have a lot to talk about with the county here. I'll just say that. For now.
Yeah, I'd say so, seeing it's 5 years later. I mean, and everybody that worked on it is pretty much gone.
Yeah, their staff is turned over, our staff is turned over, and there's just a paper trail and.
Nobody really.
And I know the engineering company was Bolton and Inc., right?
Correct. They were working with the county as well on some level on this project.
All right, so when are you looking for a work session?
You know, I think before the end of the year, I know we have a 2-week break here between meetings, so I don't know if one of those Mondays works for council or the next couple of weeks. But, county engineer is gonna want to come up here, chat with you guys personally.
Why, do you want to put this off till December?
Well, I suspect, you know, and quite honestly, they approached me, and it could have been 2018 or 19, it was a couple of years after. Then COVID hit and everything got derailed, but I think the reason they do it towards the end of the year is because they want their books to tie out, and it's still left as kind of a debit, if you will. So I'm
Yeah,
sure.
like 5-year-old debit. I wish I could go back to places that screwed up on pricing and go back and claim more money myself. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I would say we have some work to do to find some common ground. But,
We've got to be contracts and records and payment and everything else.
Yeah, but the
You
people,
would think.
but the people involved, they're all gone.
I had the same thought.
Are they gonna be part of the work session?
What's that?
Are they gonna be part of the work session?
They effectively want to sit down with you guys.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Chat.
I'm sure they do. All right, so what do you want? You want to push this out a little bit, make them wait for it a little bit, or everybody want to do it?
You know, whatever works for you guys' schedule, I'm ready to go, you know, I can be ready to go next week. It's a little fast. 'cause-
Joe, are we gonna prepare a packet of that information?
Yeah.
We'll have to dissect through that, so.
Yep, there's a few key documents that
How much time did you
guys
get?
can see. Some of them include unsigned change orders, some of them include various bills. So it's a lot to really digest, and we'll try and sift through. I mean, I have a folder about that big with information. We'll try and sift through, you know, 5 to 10 key documents that we think are pertinent.
Oh, brother. Hey, well, how about December 1st on a Wednesday? Does that look pretty good? December 1st gives them some time to put this stuff together for us. What do you think? Rob?
I like the 29th, but I can do the middle of the week, it doesn't matter to me.
I go with 29th. Okay, what do you guys think?
Good.
29th or
30.
I can make anything work as long as I'm here. Otherwise,
Sarah?
Okay.
29th, is that easier for you?
That's easier, just keep all the movies straight.
Okay, so let's go the 29th, okay? We'll go the 29th. Let's just see this. 29th, 5:30.
Should we do it here?
No, let's do it in our, how many people are coming from them?
I believe too. So we could go in the meeting room in City Hall. I don't know if.
Let's do it in a place where we can intimidate.
Tiger quarters.
We got a basketball. Stretch down.
That would be- Let's do it, let's do it. Let's do it at City Hall, okay, and
City Hall is possible.
at our conference.
If worst came to worst, we would go to the police building for thing that could come out.
All right,
City Hall.
I'm just gonna put this down at the City Hall, okay? That's where we'll see it for now, okay?
What time?
5:30.
Well, you gotta post that too, though.
Yeah, I just gotta double check some schedules, but I'm City Hall.
Okay, so Monday, the 29th of November, 5:30 p.m. Okay, City Hall. All right, got what you want?
Yeah, maybe, this might be a good, because another topic that potentially was gonna be on this is, and Steve, you got the email, I believe Kurt Dowd wants to come to a city council meeting. December 20th, I think it was.
On a dish show.
Maybe this is a good segue into, are we gonna plan on having that second city council meeting in December? Sometimes the city has canceled it, sometimes it's had it, but if Kurt does, maybe we have it. So I think I was gonna talk about with you guys, what we want to bring up with Kurt for address.
And you're gonna have at this meeting with the county
No, it would be after that, we would just chat.
at this work session.
Yeah,
Just out of curiosity, why is there a reason he wants to show up?
So
I don't know. We wanted to-
I didn't know if you had a topic or something.
Yeah, I think he just wants to check in, so I thought it'd be a good opportunity for us to corral and figure out what maybe we would want to talk to him about.
Library remodel with the city building. And under Rich Street, bike path, those are my two things that we talked about and had no resolution on.
Well, okay, but you're talking about this work session, and then how long the work session goes into that, in the end, Brad.
No, he just segued into a different topic.
Yeah.
Different-
I just wanted to make sure we're still gonna plan on having a December 20th meeting, something the city is still back. I guess now I just want to confirm that so that we can expect her to show up.
All right.
Okay, now you're talking about December 20th?
Yeah,
At that council meeting is what you're talking about having in there?
yeah, I think that's what Kurt wanted to come.
So again, I thought it was a work session you want to come, but you wants to come to a council meeting?
Let's come to council.
I think that's the date proposed. Well, we can sort it all out at the work session.
That's. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, let's look at the list of things to do at the work session that we want to present. And maybe we can give them that information on the 29th.
Yeah,
Give them 20 days to digest a way to tell us.
I'm just kind of curious why he wants to come here. I mean, I could count on 3 fingers, maybe. I've seen them. 2 were for meetings, and 1 was at the local meeting just recently, looking for a bottle of bourbon. Whatever. Okay, just do it. I think you were, no, you weren't there. Okay, anyway, all right, moving on. Amazing. Okay, we're on our reports, correct? No, actually, we're on a second time meeting up with the public. Anybody else want to discuss anything from the public? Nobody? Okay. All right, moving on to fire department monthly report. Dave, that's you.
Mayor and council, for your review is our October monthly report from the fire department. For response times, we continue to stay under our goal, which is 10 minutes, and we ended up at 7 minutes and 58 seconds for the month of October. I'll apologize on the calls for service. I did make 2 errors on that graph. First being not aggregating the years out appropriately, and the total run volume. We actually had 61 calls for service in October, not 60. If we don't put in a subtype in a run, it won't populate it in our total aggregate, so I did miss one. So my apologies for that. But we did end up with a total of 61 runs for the month of October. Our average number of firefighters per response was a little bit lower at 5.7 for the month of October. We continue to see that distribution between fire and EMS runs at 13 for fire, 48 for EMS runs based in October. Our variance usage continues to get high utilization. Of note, we did flag another 6 cases in October as meeting COVID criteria, and we flagged 8 runs with over 20-minute response times from the ambulance. Of note, for the month of November, we've already flagged 9 runs for COVID criteria, and we're about halfway through the month, a little bit more than halfway through the month this time. So we're continuing to see those numbers, unfortunately, trend in the wrong direction. And Captain Searle was quite busy in the month of October, not only with the French toast breakfast, but we completed 13 total fire inspections, 11 initials and 2 re-inspects. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, so average number of firefighters is 5.7, you said?
Yep,
And yet your time is down to 7.
758.
And it looks like, still again, as I've seen in past months, it's more towards EMS calls than fire.
Correct.
It seems to be the trend.
Correct. And as we look at our numbers total on the year, right now, as of today, we're at about 626 runs for the year. Comparing to last year, for the entire year of 2020, we did 541 runs for the year. So we far exceeded last year's run totals, which again is happening not only all over the county, but all over the state right now.
So are you seeing this type of trend with EMS calls versus fire all over the state, or?
Yes. So one of the things, for what it's worth, the experts suggest that during the initial phase of COVID, there was a lot of people that were forgoing things like routine care, preventative checkups, and even some pretty necessary follow-ups. As we continue to kind of go down this path, those are unfortunately starting to have consequence in their life. And we're seeing those EMS related calls go up for some of that delaying of care that they would have normally been getting in any other environment. So it's everywhere right now, unfortunately. And certainly the COVID numbers aren't helping with their volume.
Right, so I mean, when I'm seeing these calls here for COVID and all that, but I'm saying, but there's a lot of other calls here. But I'm just seeing a more of a need for EMS services.
Right.
Someday we may see ambulances in each city.
There is a push statewide to make some changes regarding ambulance services.
That would help out a lot.
It's been a long fight.
All right, thank you, Dave. Joe, your comments on this?
Good report, thank you. I guess I'm just curious on how that's going.
We're doing well. It's been busy over there. We've got a couple of significant crashes just in the past couple of days over there. So there's certainly some interesting events that happen in that town, just based on the roadways, and every road through there is a 55-mile road. But things are going well. People are happy. We're moving things along. Slowly but surely, we'll continue to make progress.
Sir?
Just another great report. Work.
So,
All right, Rob, here.
Great report. Are you guys doing shared training with now?
So we are. So we want to make sure that as, we rely on each other for mutual aid or out of way, that we understand what each other's doing. The other piece of it is we're utilizing some cost sharing initiatives by sharing our EMS training. So rather than have two separate contracts, two separate instructors, we're taking our EMS training, we're merging those together.
Okay. Unrelated, Santa on the fire truck this year.
December 9th, I believe it's the date.
Upcoming event. That's it. Kevin?
Very good report, chief. Do you see with the ambulance call still being 20 minutes approximate? You see that with other municipalities as well, or?
Yes, it's certainly not a St. Francis problem, and it's certainly not a Anoka County problem. I was at the Chiefs Conference a couple of weeks ago up in Duluth, and I was actually speaking with the Brooklyn Park Fire Chief. First ring suburb, they're seeing 40-minute response times for ambulances, even in the metro, and closer to the metro.
Is it employment or equipment related, or how employment related?
It's a number of factors, certainly employment being the biggest factor. There is a national paramedic shortage that's been going on for a couple of years. It's certainly getting harder and harder to recruit and retain. There's some business model things that don't work real well, just from a worker welfare standpoint. And quite frankly, as a paramedic, it's not the most, it's not the career that you see the most longevity. It is a very difficult career, both physically, emotionally, and mentally. So we do see a high rate of turnover as well. So there's unfortunately a lot of factors that are coming into play. Pay equity compared to most other healthcare fields is a big factor as well. So we hope that there's a solution on the horizon. A lot of fire chiefs are very interested in this discussion and have been for quite a while. Unfortunately, until things change legislatively, we have no authority as a municipality to change anything. But we'll get there. It's something that we have noticed a pattern long enough that we wanted to start tracking some actual data that we could report. So,
Is there a city or a county or a state contribution to the ambulance services that, we see this trend change, would that money be shifted to local departments such as yours to help the city bear not a burden, but the cost of having an ambulance per se? So
yes and no. There's a couple different aspects that are important to know. One is in the private ambulance industry, the state of Minnesota has an EMS taxing district rule on the books and has had for a number of years. The problem with the EMS taxing district is it only applies to municipalities and nonprofits. Most of the ambulance services that provide coverage in Minnesota are private entities.
For profit.
For profit. So they don't qualify to leverage that EMS taxing district. So they offset some of that by reducing costs in other places. The other challenge specific to EMS is with the hospital systems and clinics continuing to struggle for reimbursement rates, they take any revenue off the top from the ambulance side and reshuffle that into either the hospitals or the clinics to make sure that they have financial solvency throughout the entire organization. As far as funding available, EMS relies very heavily on the bills, right? When we transport a patient, we can then bill for that service. If we show up for a fire, we're not billing for that service. If we show up to a medical as a fire department, we're not billing for that service, nor do we have the ability to bill for that service. Same thing with domestic call. Police departments are billing for that type of event. right? So that's how they remain solvent, is through that billing mechanism, through private pay insurance, self-pay, Medicare and Medicaid. And that's how they continue to work. But as those margins get shorter and shorter, smaller and smaller, it's harder to pay more, it's harder to staff better, it's harder to bring on more staff. So there's a lot of challenges within that system itself. And there's no easy solution, unfortunately.
But you as an agency, you don't invoice, and then John Doe's, you provide EMS service, you're not invoicing or it's part of the city's
Correct.
realm.
And even on the ambulance side, if an ambulance responds to your house and you decide not to go in the ambulance, they don't bill you. The billing is stemmed from the transport side.
I'll just say I'll wait for St. Francis to show up first. I don't have to wait, you'll be there before that minute.
Right. So there are some challenges again, it's a long process. There's legislative changes that would need to happen to substantially change ESAs or private EMS transport in CMS. It's something that a lot of municipalities are putting very close attention to.
As you guys have brainstormed over the last years or months, what does it cost to employ an ambulance service or to have an ambulance that you're just in your shop with people, et cetera? So what's a rough cost? We know what police officers cost and
If
fire.
there's a municipal run ambulance service.
Well, right.
So
Approximately what would it cost?
if you combine capital investments such as purchasing an ambulance, equipment, medical direction, staffing, all of those things, your price tag up front is probably somewhere between $300,000 to $600,000 to get up and running before you start actually generating some potential revenue from transporting. So there is certainly some financial consequence.
Well, how the hell does that work with going to an Atlanta hospital or a different type of hospital, it's privately owned, and they have their own ambulance service?
So they cannot refuse an ambulance unless they're closed for capacity, which we're seeing now with COVID, right? And not just COVID, there's a shortage of healthcare workers. Hospitals can close to ambulances, not to private parties. And we see that pretty frequently right now, that Mercy will close their ED to ambulance transports. So they'll have to go to a different hospital. Temporarily, it works. There's also a rule that says once 3 hospitals close, they're all forced open. So if Mercy closes, North closes, Hennepin closes, they all have to open. So there's a lot of unique aspects to EMS.
In other municipalities where they have an ambulance within their fire department realm, is it a levy situation and that's how they get the money back, or are they actually in the invoice as well?
They're direct billing.
They can.
Yep, absolutely.
So that could be our future in 10 years or
Potential. You can utilize EMS taxing district and you can direct bill for transport services, whether to the individual or directly to the insurance.
so Darcy'd have to get in the program and then.
I think
If
has
these
that
calls
feature.
continue like this, you can see that's where it's
That's
heading.
what I'm getting
Yeah,
at.
that's where it's heading,
Yeah.
exactly.
Thank you very much. Very good. Thank you, man.
Thank you. All right, moving on to Public Works monthly reports.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, in tonight's, or this month's monthly report, you'll see some items that are completed and some that are still taking place. You'll remember that we ordered that new wing for the road grader. Staff has got that completed and it's ready to go, along with all the other plow equipment. We had a little scare this past week with some snow. County, state, they were all plowing. But luckily it didn't stick to the roads in much areas. Fall sweeping is complete. We were able to get out one last time for road grading. I think we ended up with like 14.5 miles of road. So that firmed up good. Biosolids are being hauled to the field right now. They're having some problems going a little bit slower because the trucks are getting stuck due to the snow that's in the fields. But I would say we're about 2/3 done with that and should complete that tomorrow, loading the trucks. Our emergency response plan, we met with WSB, that will go into effect December 31st. And our new employee is being trained in, he's doing a great job, he's already, we're ready to turn him loose, talking with Parrish, he figures by next week we'll be able to go out on his own and be able to do rounds and start taking some on-call stuff, so that's a little bit faster than I anticipated, but he's pretty sharp, so that's nice to see. And then the meters, we've had a few work orders for rereads, and some of those were due to high because of leaks and whatnot. It wasn't actually a faulty meter with running toilets, different things like that, so. And then we only had 2 meters that we could not read, so that's a pretty low number. All in all, that seems to be staying consistent. Fluctuates a little bit, but I think we're off and running with that, so. With that, if you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Right, so when you say unable to read the meters, why is that?
So sometimes, you know, you have your hand held and it can be glitchy depending on where the read is. It's a frequency, they can't pick it up. So sometimes they get bumped. I've seen it where people have packed stuff in front of them and it just kills the frequency. Usually they've gotten a lot better, but you know, it could be something with the meter itself.
So what do we do in that case?
We actually go in and correct the problem.
And I happen to see here, if I'm right, here, no clogged lift stations for a second time.
Yeah.
Really? Well, that's amazing. Never thought I'd see that. Okay. All right, thank you. Joe, you have any comments on this one?
Good job, Jason, thank you. I'll probably stop in sometime next week, I'm thinking.
Sounds good.
Yeah, by the way, I saw the road, the grader, that turned out pretty good.
Turned out really good, yeah. This guys did a great
I
job.
like the more visibility on the cab, which it didn't have before. That's a big.
That's the first thing Jeremy said was, "This is the first time I've ever been able to see out of this window." That's kind of a big deal when you're taking a left-hand turn and you're looking out the right window. So for safety reasons alone, it's good.
Got any comments?
No, sir, very good report, thank you.
No comment, good report.
Sarah?
Good report, Jason, thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on to council member reports. All right. Joe, we'll start with you. Yeah.
I don't have much to say, I'm back in town now, it's cold. I'll be meeting with Joe probably this week at some point in time, the rest of the staff, just catching up on some things. Other than that, I have nothing.
All right, Kevin?
I really have nothing. I want to commend you though, again, I blow the same horn every week or meeting, but stopped in the liquor store 2 weeks ago and you were working, you were hauling stuff to the dumpster and they said that you don't have your hard hat on or where's your badge or whatever, but you've really run roughshod over that place and done a good job and looked it up and then you'll probably tell us about the opening soon, but again, much appreciation. And I know I spent some extra money here and there, but it's a small amount compared to the dividends it's going to be back, at least on your shelving and your construction background. So again, I'm not trying to buddy up, I'm glad you were there watching it because it's a big deal. It's a over $700,000 project. It's the revenue stream that the city has. And again, we're fortunate to have a liquor store. And then the public, they feel it when it's closed and it's going to be much nicer and serve our customers. Customer service is key and it will serve customers well when it's open again. So thank you on that.
Well, thank you for your recognition. I appreciate that, but I didn't do it by myself. I can tell you that.
No, I've seen Jason over there as well.
All right, Roger, comment?
I don't really have anything to report either. Just looking forward to getting through the rest of the year without any snow.
Sarah?
I don't have anything to report, but I do want to mention that on Wednesday, December 1st at 6 p.m. will be the St. Francis Community Tree Lighting at Woodbury Park.
Someone do it.
Yep.
Okay. All right, and I'll talk right now about the liquor meeting itself. We shut down from the 7th to the 14th to do the south end. We wasn't able to do. We did that for a couple of reasons, basically because the main entrance is to that south end, and we had to take off the floor and redo new tile and stuff like that. So, you know, reliability issues with people coming in and out and interrupting the subs as they were working. It seemed to be the right thing to do, and it turned out really well. The liquor meeting, the actual grand opening will be December 13th, the week of the 13th to the 18th. And there are still some tweaking to do. We have some painting to do, some miscellaneous stuff that has to be done, but the store is fully open now. John and the staff have done a great job through the whole process. I commend them because all that saw cutting and everything else they had to put up with, but they were really good. And, I know we're all at the end of our road at the end here, but it's turned out really well here. The bottle shop is at full operational hours now. I will repeat them now. They're on our website from Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Sunday 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it's fully operational. We actually we'll have a full operational store for all 3 holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and of course New Year's, which are the big holidays of the year for. So I want to commend all people involved in this project. Took me quite a while to correct the project management difficulties we had, but I was able to do that, being consistent and persevering. But I will just go on record here and say that by removing the one project manager and replacing it with this new one, we actually accomplished more in the last 4 weeks than we did the whole 5 months this thing was under build. It's really a shame that was like that, but I had to lay my foot down, and with the experience and knowledge that I have, and the support that I have from the people working with me, we were able to pull it off, and that's really what it took to do it. We weren't getting acknowledgement from the contracting company, so we had to push a little harder, more harder than I would like to have done. And I had some very fiery conversations with my administrator, other people. But you know, I've always said I don't know a lot, but I know really well. That is my forte. And so my experience came to light, and we got the job done, which is what it takes to do. So again, I want to commend public works people that were involved, and of course the staff of the full-time staff, John, Crystal, and Corrine, who've done a great job being there and really pulling this off. So I invite everyone in the council and staff to go and look at it, because it really turned out well. It was a lot of work, but the end result would be competitive pricing along with an expanded product line. John to be able to do some things he's always dreamt about doing now in the store that he can do. And I think this is going to really pay back big dividends for us. So once again, open up fully for all the holidays. Grand opening December 13th to the 18th. And thank you to everybody that got involved with this. And most of all, John, your staff once again for the patience. And I know through modeling, because I've done it for years. You know, it can be exciting in the beginning, but as the project drags out, the last 4 weeks can be really, if you have hair on your head, you want to pull the hair out of your head. So, but we all stuck together and tightened our belts up and sucked it all up, and we got it done. So, and it looks really good. So get over and check her out. Okay. On that, once again, as I stated before in the last meeting, and I want to state again, that what I see with other cities, and this city here, we took a city here that didn't have a team mindset here before in past administrations, and put a team mentality in here. We also went and put preventive maintenance and preventive thinking and proactive thinking in the city, which is to push the city into the right direction. We believe we're getting more bang for our buck. We're passing savings out to the residents and getting the trust of the residents, which is a good thing. There'll be issues here as these people are here looking at us or listening to us, and there'll be issues coming up here and further stuff. I just want to emphasize one thing to all residents here, is that we listen to everything you come to us with, but the council has to look at the bigger, broader picture of the city in general, okay? We do that by the St. Francis Forward Plan, by the comprehensive 2040 plan, 2050 plan that comes down the road to the Met Council and all that, but we don't really designate one neighborhood over another, special one over the other. We look at how it all fits together for the betterment of the bigger picture, which is the city that we are entrusted to run for the residents that we serve. So I just really want to put that on record. We don't look at your area versus any other area different. We look how it fits in with the development of the city at large. And we look at it with open minds, and we are willing to listen to your concerns. At the end of the day, we will address them according to our codes and policies and see how it all comes out in the end. But we do listen carefully to what you say. Okay, we understand we are a customer service business, meaning you are the customers and we are the business serving you. So, and past, I've heard many times from other people, as we did 5 years ago with wastewater, they'll just do whatever they want to do. We don't do just what we want to do here. We do listen again to what you say. We put it all in a perspective on a broader picture of the city, our codes and policies, and we make decisions that we think are best for the city at large. So just so you understand that. And I think that's important. So again, I have in past meetings, in council meetings in Andover and other cities, Oak Grove and all that, but I felt that attitude that was they're pretty much going to do what they want to do. We don't have that attitude here. We do listen, we do our due diligence, and we take your input very seriously. That I just want to put that out there for you. As obviously our issue is not here tonight. We'll be down the road and we will listen to it with our full open minds and do our research and give you the answers. Maybe the answer you want to hear, maybe the answer you don't want to hear, but it will be a fully vetted answer to you. So that is something I want to be clear to already. Once again, I want to again thank staff, because nothing can be done in the city on an individual basis, one council member or one staff member, whatever. It all works together as a team. That's how we do something. Once, as I stated before, council member or staff member may initiate a conversation, but by the time it goes to fruition, it's an all work effort by legal, by administration, by public works, by local community people, by fire, by police, everyone, finance, whatever it may be. We all work together for the good of the city at large. So, again, I commend everyone. I think that, we couldn't do it without you. And it's proven after 5 years. It's not a perfect system, but it's a system that works. And that's the most important thing. We can always be tweaked, and that's what we do here every day. And we work at it. We take our oath seriously, and we work very hard at it. So on that, I don't think there's any other further business. This might be a short meeting for us, usually an unusual short meeting for us. But if there's no other future business, nothing at all, then I will adjourn this meeting on Monday, the 15th at 6:46. Thank you.